Welcome to my channel. My name is Yvonne Mae Ree, and by the title of this video, you already know what we are about to get into. Girl, I done had the bright idea of spray painting an antique mirror. And this is not just any antique mirror. This is a mirror that I have seen in my grandma's house since the day I was born. Like, me and this mirror at least the same age, okay? She might be a little bit older. She probably just might be a little bit older. But I won't do too much talking. But if you are interested in seeing how the mirror turned out, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. It will help me grow and make more videos like this. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright y'all, let's get started. So I began with the painter's tape. I did get the 3/4 of an inch. I believe they had the other option of a 1/2 inch, but I just wanted to get the biggest option possible just to make sure I was covering as much space as possible, because this is a very important mirror to me and I didn't want to, get any paint on the actual mirror. So I first started with the bottom because it was the shortest edge. And I will say this was the most tedious part of the whole process, mainly because you just want to ensure that you are laying the tape to the best of your ability. So you'll see here that I went on to the next side. And when you're laying the tape, you want to make sure you're doing it as flat as possible. And if you notice that you're too far away from the edge, like you see a little part of the mirror peeking out, don't be afraid to pick that tape up and lay it back down, because the last thing you want is tape on the mirror. And while I was doing this, I was listening to my favorite podcast, which is The Read. If you listen to The Read or you've ever been to a live show, comment below and tell me your favorite episode or where you happen to see The Read at. I had the opportunity of seeing The Read in Oakland. And I actually just remembered this. Girl, I be forgetting stuff. But at the showing, I went to Daniel Kaluuya and his girlfriend just happened to also go. Like they were, in the audience just as everybody else. And it was just really cool. Like, when they go back on tour, I have to go again. But anyways, here you see that I had a little excess of tape. So instead of folding it back, I just cut it off, because you want to make sure that the tape is laying as flat as possible, because if anything is protruding up, again, that's going to prevent you from getting in the nooks and crannies. And you don't want any of the old color like still showing underneath the paint, once you pick up the tape, because you had it covered up. So now the frame is all covered in tape, but you see the middle is still exposed. So I just went ahead and got another garbage bag, and I folded it down to the size that I needed, and I just taped that down. You don't have to use a garbage bag if you have newspaper. I know a lot of us don't read those anymore, but if you happen to have newspaper or some type of thick paper, or even like cardboard or something, you can put that in the middle. Really, you can get creative. Just make sure it's something that isn't porous and will allow the paint to, just seep through it, because then that kind of defeats the whole point. And while we're here, I also say that you'll notice I have garbage bags on the floor to protect it. I have like 8 garbage bags on the floor, but I wish I had like some type of paper instead, or maybe like real painters like covering. So here I'm just showing that all the edges are covered. You don't see any of the mirror sticking out. It looks very much so protected. And look at it, the mirror is so beautiful as it is, but honestly, I just don't want any gold hardware in my apartment. Like, I'm not really a fan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this black. So the next step is sanding. This is faster sanding paper strips. I got this from Home Depot. You can see that in my last vlog. So this process was pretty fun because unlike the tape, you don't really have to be very intentional. You just want to make sure you're roughing up the surface. And the purpose of this step, it just really helps the paint adhere better to the surface and stick. It's kind of like, you know, the same idea when you get your acrylics done, when they rough up the surface of your nail prior to when they glue down the acrylic. So since this is a pretty old mirror, it kind of already had some spots that were messed up, like, you know, roughed up. But I just wanted to go in and rough it up even more, and I feel like this helped get off the years of dust that have accumulated on this mirror from it just being so old. And so yeah, I thought this was a really good step. So next, I just went in with my handy dandy hand vacuum just to get up some of the dust, actually most of the dust, because you can't really see it here, but there was a lot of dust that came from the sanding. And then I went in with a microfiber towel just to further get the dust up, and I also went in with some spray, some all-purpose cleaner, just to get that up as well. So I used the Krylon Color Max paint and primer in the color Satin Black, and this is a what is it called, girl? You know, the paint that a spray paint. There you go. And girl, I was shook because I read the instructions and it said shake the bottle for 2 minutes, and you know that helps ensure that the paint just comes out smooth like it's intended to do. So even though I side-eyed when I read it, I didn't want to skip this step because, you know, I wanted the paint to be as smooth as possible. But girl, my arm was hurting. You see, I had to change arms, honey. But now it is time to actually paint. And this was obviously my most favorite part of the actual process. And I will say I did this in my living room with my balcony open. But after some time, I did get a little overwhelmed with the smell. So you might want to do this outside. But I started off with short spurts because I was a little, I need to get a bit more comfortable. And once I did longer spurts, but I still applied the paint in layers. Like, you don't want to just go hard and focus on one area and make it as black as possible or as pigmented as possible, because you want the paint to, look smooth, and it's not going to be smooth if you just wilding out. So you kind of want to think of it as if you're painting your nails. You just want to do it in layers. So I'm just going around the mirror in layers and just applying the paint. And you'll see my base was kind of lifting up, so I'm just going around and taping down areas that I saw lifting, because the air from the spray paint bottle was lifting up the bags. That's another reason I said I wish I'd had a better base that was just maybe, one piece of fabric, because having multiple pieces that were kind of just stuck together wasn't ideal. So I lost a bit of footage, so you'll see the mirror is much darker now. So I'm pretty much like spot checking and going in and seeing, making sure the paint is the same color in all of the areas. So here I was pretty like I was getting excited because I'm like, wow, this looks really good. Like at the beginning I was kind of scared because it looked a mess, like like it looked like a spotted Dalmatian. But now look at her, she's a grown woman. All right, y'all. So that was a process. And I mean, I thought it would be fun when I first thought about doing it. And, I really wanted to have this mirror, but I really wasn't feeling the gold. So it was pretty easy. I would recommend if you do this, maybe do it in a more open space. I did this in my living room, and I do live in an open concept apartment, but just having my balcony open, I did get overwhelmed with the smell of the spray paint. So you might want to do this outside. But the reason why I didn't want to do it outside is because I was worried about like bugs or something getting on the paint when it was wet. And then, that sticking to the paint and it looking all bumpy and stuff. But another thing I would recommend is to protect my floor, I put down, I think, a total of 8 garbage bags. And that's just because I have like an excess of garbage bags right now. I bought a huge box from Costco. So I really wasn't too worried about using, a lot of garbage bags. But I will say, once I actually started applying the spray paint, the air from the spray paint is pretty, strong. So that caused the garbage bags to lift up. So I did kind of have to use a lot of tape just to make sure the garbage bags were kept down and I wasn't getting spray paint on the floor. But even so, once I took the garbage bags up from the floor, there was kind of like an outline, like a black outline of the bags, because I had kind of undershot the area. Like I didn't put a big enough area over the floor for protection. So there was a bit of spray paint on the floor, but I will say that it was very easy to get up. I just sprayed a bit of all-purpose cleaner on the floor, and then I got some Lysol wipes, and it just came right up. And I'm not sure if that's because I did it like pretty quickly after the fact, like I didn't just let it sit, or it could be just what the flooring is made out of. I don't know, girl, but the paint came up. So that is one thing to consider if you are going to do it inside, or even outside. If you don't want to get the paint on anything, do a really big area as the base. But other than that, the mirror came out beautifully. I really didn't know what to expect because I've never painted anything like this before, but it came out so nice. I'm going to go ahead and insert the final shot of the mirror here. But I really love it. And if you guys go ahead and make anything like this or DIY another antique mirror. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. If you don't have a grandma that has a mirror like this, don't worry, girl. You can find mirrors like this, I feel like, at, like Goodwill or any like consignment type store, or you know, what a thrift store. There we go. You can find this at any thrift store. So if you do want to get, like, if you see a mirror that you like and it's not the color that you want, you know, you can pretty much change it to anything. Like, they had glitter paint and they even had glow in the dark paint. So it's pretty much up to you. You just have to find the mirror. But again, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you in the next one.